Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Idori Elinoga, the CEO and co-founder of Yuki. We are a Snowflake native partner focused on automatic cost optimization in Snowflake. And today, I'm excited to speak with Lior Solomon, VP of Data at Drata.
How's it going? I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. So I think that we will start this conversation with a few questions because I love what you're doing at Drata. I love the new use cases that you are doing, especially around the go-to-market enablement. I would love to ask you, you built new use cases leveraging AI using Bedrock and Cortex on top of Snowflake. What was Snowflake part in it and how it enabled your initiatives?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I have we are working closely with the data platform team that actually owns the whole kind of orchestration, kind of like full ownership on the Snowflake side, where they work closely with the GTM departments and understand what can we help them to actually move faster, drive insights faster, mostly around data ingestion, data modeling, and now in the past I would say a year or a little more on the AI side. So introducing some more of the Gen AI practices into the GTM world. What I really appreciated in using Snowflake was the fact that there's instead of us bringing more tools and more vendors into our kind of like, and it's a small nimble team. We're trying to intentionally stay nimble. So the idea that the fact that I have a one-stop shop for me where I can actually ingest into a centralized enterprise data warehouse all the data, and to be able to do the governance there and the security aspects as well, and to be able to run all those like interact with like large language models, that we really find it really beneficial and kind of like and to be honest, Snowflake is doing a really good job there, just like to catching up with the market and just adding more and more tools. So really exciting on our end, yeah.
The challenge here is not, choosing the right tools, but to make sure that you can handle the scale that they introduce to your Snowflake environment. Is that right?
Yeah, part of it. Yeah, it's like a twofold, right? On one hand, it's kind of like I call it like the bread and butter of my team, which is like we live and die by making sure that all the data is being ingested in a freshly manner into the data warehouse. We do a lot of activities in regards of like the CDC pipeline, which is like driving terabytes of data per day from our production environment, from our MySQL databases. It's an interesting challenge where we're basically running on a single tenant architecture. So we basically synchronize thousands of databases closer to real time into the data warehouse. And that's kind of like, that has nothing to do with AI at this, but on top of that, suddenly I have my good colleagues and friends, which are the executives on the GTM side, where they look at the market, they go to their own conferences, and they're like, "Oh my God, there's so many things we can do with this new technology and new tools." And some of them experiment with it, code vibing, and they have their own V0 love bell and all that. And they have the expectation of like, oh, it's so easy. I just get the data and I throw it into some sort of a chat GPT. I ask a couple questions and I can start extracting insights. So the problem is, how do you do that at scale? How do you do it like in a secure way and with the right governance? And also, stretching my team skill sets from not just being a data engineer, analytics engineer. Suddenly, they kind of fiddle with the idea of like, oh, I need to kind of like learn how those sort of like type of activities in order to facilitate those sort of projects. So I think it's like a little bit of both of those worlds.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you are using, querying your data using natural language. We are seeing as well a transition that natural language is used for starting to be used for creating data transformation and data pipelines. With all of this, text to SQL, how do you make sure that um, the total cost of ownership of your entire data stack isn't ballooning? Like, do you have any, new initiative that you are trying to do? Like, did you take a new approach of governancing the cost there?
It's a very good question. Definitely something that we're kind of like very mindful of. I think where we started is like putting more pressure in understanding the impactfulness or potential impactfulness of a project um, before we even start talking about the cost of that project. And we introduced like this new kind of like framework or mental model of like a crawl, walk, run, sprint kind of a model where we want to try and fail as quick as possible with our stakeholders, meaning that I want to be able to identify the business motive they have, what sort of business problem they're trying to solve, and I want to be able to get the data as quick as possible, as scrappy as it is, put it in a small kind of sandbox that I can actually identify what is that data has been used and where is it used and by whom. And I want to be able to throw in like even if it means that we toss the whole kind of like project after that, even if it's just like you literally build it on cloud code, you build a notebook or a Streamlit app, and you get feedback from the stakeholders as quick as possible. I want to be first of all together with them to understand what's the potential impact we're bringing into if we do go and build that. So that's where we actually put a lot of pressure, because if we don't see that there's actually merit with what their hypothesis was, there's no use for me to build all those fancy pipelines and the governance and the observability and the cost tracking and so on. So it's like, and I think that shift is the challenge that most of the data teams are actually going through today. Well, we've been trained for many years to work in rigor and kind of be very attentive to how scalable the pipeline would be. Uh, and then you get into those problems of cost in day one. You need to put the upfront effort, to be able to actually, kind of make it scalable and stand behind those SLAs. So, and now I think that the shift is like, I'm tired of hearing the that kind of like I don't know, another mantra, but a blame of like, oh, the data team is so slow. You hear it, time and time, and I want to actually try and change it by the fact that now that we have all those Gen AI tools, and we can potentially throw a script or a transformation script or it's just a Streamlit app and quickly fail together. I want to put the pressure on the stakeholder. I'm like, you want to move fast? Let's move fast. Here's the data. Here's a sandbox. Let's try it out together. Let's see if it works or not. If it does work, then we slowly start phasing and introducing those like best practices to actually start tracking costs and kind of like identifying, like making sure that we're protected for those like failures. Um, so that's like one part of it. But from a practical perspective, on the cost side, we're doing a couple of things. So we track on the data warehouse level to see, if there's like a specific project or some sort of a payload that continuously we would calculate that. So one way is just put a whole data warehouse just for that kind of activity, which at times could be expensive. It's easy to kind of measure like how much is being spent there, but also if it's not being utilized properly or wisely, then it could be some waste there.
So
Uh,
sorry to interrupt you. You are dedicating an entire data warehouse for these initiatives, like one data warehouse per initiative, or like for the whole.
it depends how big an activity exists there. It's usually today the data warehouse is per department. So we have like imagine like we have like functional roles within the data warehouse, and under functional roles we have like a department role. So we would allocate the data warehouse for that department so I can see how much activity is coming from there. It still doesn't tell the full story, because when you think about DBT and transformation, we have one big job that runs on a nightly basis, and then it's a little tougher to actually look at the upstream transformations and models that are dependent for that department. In those cases, we would use tags, just like on resources, to be able to identify what's going on. And the last thing we introduced recently was to actually look into the compute cost of like specifically the tokens that we're running through the large language model. So really just like we did it two ways. One was like literally on a Streamlit app, just like when you run an analysis, we'll calculate, we'll guesstimate how many tokens are supposed to be thrown into the model and how much is supposed to be, we're literally guessing. But we put a tag price in front of the stakeholder and let him be the one that proves, yes, I'm going to spend right now $20, $50, $100, whatever it is, just to kind of start understanding that there's like, there's a cost behind it. So yeah, these are the kind of the tools we have at the moment on our disposal.
Thank you, Leo, for joining me today. It was a great conversation. For more insights and interviews, go to the CDO Magazine website.